SAA is flying into more trouble, this as Treasury says it's no closer to securing and providing South African Airways with the 2 billion rand it needs to stay afloat. The embattled airline has now cancelled 12 of its domestic and local flights until Friday. Heidi Jokos is following this story for us. She joins us now live in studio. So Heidi, the finance minister is admitting the government simply can't find the money yet.
Most definitely, Shahan, and he was obviously speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, where the question was posed about where National Treasury is going to get that 2 billion rand from. One must remember that the lenders came through in December with a 2 billion rand. Now, government needs to come to the party, and many have been asking, even though government has committed to giving the airline that 2 billion rand, where is that money actually going to come from? Also bearing in mind that, National Treasury time and time again has indicated that there is no money in government fiscus. And SAA has received bailouts for the last decade to the tune of about 17 billion rand. So this is a lot of money that we're looking at here, and government is probably in a very difficult position at the moment to try and acquire that money. But let's listen to what the finance minister had to say about that.
Before I came to this meeting now, I received a message from the Director General of the National Treasury that they are working feverishly to try and secure that funding. It's very important that that happens in a fiscally neutral way, because we don't have an appropriations bill that can find an additional 2 billion rand. That has to come from other sources that DG Mukhajene is working on. But we have given our commitment that we'll try to support SAA as much as we can, and that we'll work as much as we can to help.
Are you not getting tired that they're asking for too much money?
If I ever get tired of anything, I shouldn't be in this job.
Of course, the minister is speaking to Devon Morgan.
Of course, he's going to be dramatic.
Yeah. But the national carrier is saying there's no need to panic despite them cancelling flights.
And I think this is extremely important for the airline to communicate to passengers, given the fact that there was concern that the airline has cancelled flights. And the airline has not cancelled flights. It's rather gone through a consolidation process to say that let's look at certain routes. Perhaps we should not be sending 2 aeroplanes, but rather be sending 1 aeroplane down, perhaps to Durban or Cape Town and to Munich. And they are saying that this is because there is a low demand. So if 2 aeroplanes and each aeroplane only has 20 passengers each, they would be rather sending 1 aeroplane down. So the inconvenience comes for passengers where a passenger, instead of flying at 6 in the morning, might be flying at 8 in the morning, or in the evening they'll be flying a little later or a little earlier. And that's where the inconvenience comes in for passengers, but not necessarily that there is no more flights available for these passengers. And that's something that SAA says it needs to be reiterated, given the fact of what happened last year during the strike where flights were actually cancelled. But earlier on we spoke to the spokesperson of SAA, Tladi. Let's listen to what he had to say.
The position that we have adopted needs to be understood in the context of our efforts to avoid a situation where there is a further deterioration of our financial position. When it is clear to us before an aircraft takes off that it is going to be a loss-making flight, we have a responsibility to take steps, and whenever their options are available at our disposal, similar to the steps that we have taken, we will take such steps to ensure that we continue to operate and we ensure that our passengers travel and we avoid any further cash burn to the extent that it is possible to do so. So going forward, we will make announcements at an appropriate time, because our industry operates in a manner that passenger bookings are an ongoing phenomenon, and it is this information that enables us to plan as to the nature of our operations into the future. So appropriate announcements will be made as to whether there will be any consolidation of flights or not.
And then, of course, you had the union NUMSA, who's making serious allegations about why government isn't paying out yet.
Exactly, and they are saying that it's got to do with the fact that the business rescue process is in jeopardy. They are questioning the whole business rescue in its entirety, and they are also claiming that government is trying to shut down the airline. Basically, putting out the allegation that the airline is not dealing with the issues that were raised when the unions proposed to go on that strike, and then they went on that strike last year, saying that certain procurement deals that the airline is involved in need to be re-looked at. And the unions are claiming that that hasn't been done as yet, and that the reason why government has not committed to this is because they aren't even trying to save the airline. So, of course, it's serious allegations made against NUMSA, who were at the forefront of that strike that happened last year. But let's listen to what NUMSA had to say about that.
This is deeply concerning for us as NUMSA and SAA. We issued a statement yesterday to condemn what was happening, because what we are actually seeing here, Heidi, is the deliberate collapse of South African Airways. What we are seeing is a sabotage of the business rescue process. And the reason why we are describing it as sabotage is that it is completely unacceptable to us that on the 22nd of January, after government made a very clear commitment on the 5th of December already, that they would ensure that 2 billion rand would be made available for operating capital for SAA. It is shocking that on this day we still don't have money. We still have no confirmation of where the money will come from, if the money will actually be provided by the end of the week. I've seen media reports and comments that the finance minister has made on the sidelines of Davos, where he says they are apparently working feverishly to deal with this issue. Frankly, that's just not good enough. By the time they made the announcement on the 5th of December, that money should have already been made available. We should not be having discussions now where we are attempting to resolve the situation as if we didn't know what was coming.
Now, Business Leadership South Africa has what some would call a very unpopular view when it comes to SAA. What are they saying?
Most definitely, and the CEO there is basically saying that she believes that SAA should be closed down. And Shahan, this is something that many people are putting on the table to say how much longer can this airline sustain itself for, given the fact that it's in constant need of bailouts. It's interesting to hear what the finance minister said, where he said we are committed to saving the airline, when in the February budget last year, he indicated that putting money into SAA is like putting money into a sieve. It goes nowhere. And in the mini budget in October last year, he also indicated that SAA cannot sustain itself any longer. It's not in a position to grow and see any kind of revenue or profit come in. But you're seeing Business Leadership South Africa saying perhaps it's time to close shop. Let's listen to what they had to say.
It's actually tiring, because I think we've been talking about SAA for the past, 2 years now, and I think let's agree that we have pushed the SAA can down the road long enough. Can we be decisive? Can we maybe agree at this point that we've done everything that we can as a country, and I don't think that this thing is salvageable anymore. We're all going to have to think about the opportunity cost of continuing to put money into this airline that is clearly failing and collapsing, and say, can we be doing something better with this money? But you will also remember that at last week's pre-Davos briefing, the Minister of Finance was actually very clear. He said that we're going to have to be very decisive about those SOEs that are salvageable. Those that are performing, we're going to continue to support them. But those that are not, let's agree to actually collapse them and close them down. So I think we're going to have to stop talking left and walking right, as this government. If that is the call that we've made, I think let's carry through with it. But it's also concerning because I don't know what reputational damage has been made to SAA with the flights that have been cancelled. Even if you were to be able to salvage this thing, is the market still going to positively respond to SAA? Is the trust deficit not already broken, with the situation that it is currently in, and how that is impacting their customers at the moment?
Some very blunt views there. Thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. Heidi Jokos.